Welcome to the Practice Podcast, conversations probing the nature of practice. I'm your host, Dave Fearon. Well, by now, with 200 plus episodes of the Practice with a Question Mark podcast, some of you may be wondering what practice is. Well, my point is, so am I. I'm still wondering. It's still fascinating. When I have a conversation like the one I just completed with Enzo Darci, who is a senior finance consultant at Travelers Companies, I think now there, the way he's put together, the way he expresses himself, and what he does, capital D, is what practice is. It's all of those things done by a human being with heart, mind, and soul. Well, then I'll have the next conversation with the next person. I'll say, no, that's what practice is. That's what practice sounds like when someone is speaking with me with enthusiasm about what they do. So until the next time you hear the next episode, here is Enzo Darci, practitioner extraordinaire. Anyone who's been following this series, and I hope, it's countless people who've been following this series for the last 2 or 3 years, know that one of my greatest joys is to reconnect with former CCSU students, that's Central Connecticut State University students, who were in the Traveler's Edge program, Empowering Dreams for Graduation. And what was the E for?
Employment.
If they got to the graduation and left off the E, it would not have been something I was excited about when I was the faculty sponsor for that program, because I believe wholeheartedly in not only employment after graduation, but employment within the bounds of which some can grow and change and thrive. And that's partly why Travelers is such a great asset for both you, Enzo, and for me, because they both, everyone at Travelers wanted us to thrive at CCSU, so they brought us that wonderful program and grant, and they also wanted to bring you guys on and help the company become wonderful. So it was a win-win.
Tell you the truth, even if they didn't have that employment portion of it, still a great program, and the amount of opportunities that you get through the program and the amount of growth that you get through the program, you'll be able to get that employment at the end either way.
I'm still leaving the E on it.
Definitely.
Well, I want to tell you what motivated me and Kate Wall and some of the others of us who worked so hard on that. We really knew that the internships you were getting were terrific. As undergraduates, you had the real experience of the company on a pretty much almost daily basis, and yet you would come into our theoretical snowball fight, where we're tossing theories around, and you would say, "Oh, I can see some relevance here," and that was the thing that I liked a lot, and particularly now you are a senior financial consultant or finance consultant.
Finance consultant, yes.
Finance consultant for Travelers. You took some finance courses with us.
Definitely, yeah.
So while you were in that combined experience of being at Travelers and seeing how things were done, and then you heard the theory and you read the theory and you showed that you understood it, was that where you were starting to get that more full feeling that, hey, I can do this?
Yeah, definitely. I had a little bit of a different experience, I guess, from everybody else. So I attended High School Inc., which was Hartford Insurance and Finance Academy,
Right.
which was a business school. So I started taking some finance classes, accounting classes from high school. Travelers was one of the sponsors of the school, the key sponsor at the school, where we got a lot of Travelers employees come and talk to us about the different opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
And finance was always something intriguing to me. I was always interested. I like numbers, so definitely wanted to pursue that. And I knew I liked that. But during college, obviously I took a lot of finance classes, a lot of business classes. But during my internships, I really didn't have any core finance internships. I kind of arrived just to learn more about what other things are in the industry. I know I like finance. Exactly. I know I like finance. So let me see what else is there for me. So I tended to apply for different positions outside of finance. So I had an internship as an actuary. I had an internship in compliance. And my last one was in vendor management within the finance group, where I currently work as well.
Mm-hmm.
So that group hired me after my last internship, but in the finance role. So I kind of wanted to know a little bit more about the industry. I wanted to know about different opportunities, which, we talked about the EDGE program, but that's the power of EDGE, where it gave me that opportunity to explore for myself and see what other options I have. And at the end, I found that finance was the best fit for me. And that's what I did.
What is it about the day-to-day of finance that holds your attention and makes you feel like you settled on the right square, if you will, if in the game of chess, that you're really in finance and you're really a finance guy?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I do love numbers, and since high school, I love math and all that. So the number portion of it definitely there. But I feel like when people think about finance, you think about, probably a desk job that you just stay on your desk, work on your numbers, most of my job is not about calculating. Most of my job, the most I calculate is just hit F9 on my Excel spreadsheet, and it would do all the calculations for me. Most of my job is exactly right. You don't have that anymore. Most of my job is explaining the numbers. So explaining the story, meeting with people, making sure that the leadership team, has the right story about their numbers, and making sure that we are tracking the right way. So it's mostly just presenting on those numbers, researching on the story, making sure that you understand the numbers, making sure that the people in front of you understand the numbers. So it becomes to a point where it's not just about the numbers, it's about how you tell the story and what the story is, right? So
where does the story come? Where does that story come from?
So, I mean, each year we do what we have. Like, for example, I'm personally involved with expenses on the expense side of finance. So each year we do our annual plan, where we plan for the next year how much we're going to spend, depending on what our strategic initiatives will be. Mm-hmm. We plan on, this is how many employees we need. This is how many contractors we need outside of employees, or whatever the case is, this is how much travel we're doing, all this stuff. And then when the year comes, obviously a lot changes from when we budget to when we actually see, our actuals come in. So then trying to figure out what happened, what the change was, why are we favorable, why are we unfavorable, were we expecting this, is this something that's going to be a trend? So, thinking about those things.
I love it. That's an adventure. It's a detective story with huge stakes involved. The expenses of a multi-billion dollar enterprise, with not only the money that earned through premiums flowing through, but all the money that's promised in claims and then preceded in claims. We're talking about a massive flow of cash. But within that, in order to make that happen, you would have, in Hartford alone, I think you have roughly 3,000 employees, don't you?
I believe around 5,000.
5,000. Yeah. That number 3 was an old number.
I think, yeah.
And then, of course, there's other parts of the company and parts of the country and beyond. So all of that is done in every day. Someone spends some of that money that's in their budget.
Definitely. Exactly.
They hit their key and it says send, and someone gets some of that money from the company. So you're at a macro level looking at this expense phenomenon but I suspect even when you're sitting with groups of spenders, executives who get the decision to make that money, that they want to know more specifically, how about my area? Is that so?
Exactly. Yeah.
Do you specialize in a particular area of expensing, like claim or?
No, I'm in personal insurance, and I'm the finance lead of technology. So personal insurance technology. So anything related to technology. So I'm responsible for about 250 million each year that I track.
Now, technology spending for a company that has to be highly competitive in the arena from every possible angle. I remember when they started the Agile projects. Oh, yeah. It wasn't that long ago, but it was all about how do we break out of our legacy systems and have the chance of the movement, the freedom of movement, if you will, to try some new things. And I thought, wow, if 100-plus-year-old company can do that in the land of steady habits, then there's a good sign for young people going into that company. They're not going to be told, well, you wait 15 to 20 years from now, we're going to give you some real responsibility. You guys got thrown right into it fairly early on, didn't you?
Definitely, yeah. And even if you think about it, even during the internships, you're doing projects that you're working on projects that are meaningful. You're not just doing, copying, or I don't know what people think about internships nowadays.
Get me coffee, Enzo.
Exactly.
Make sure you got the cream right and the coffee.
Yeah, exactly. Even during the internships, people are very involved, and you're actually working on a projects that are meaningful to the company, and you're actually assisting. You're an asset, even as an intern. That's what I like most about Travelers.
Yeah, it's amazing because you are, if people could see you on camera, a relatively young man. And the old stereotype, I remember when I went into Travelers in the mid-'80s, I was a sort of like a guest fellow to study their executive education program. Small S on the study. I was just observing, shadowing. And I remember looking around, and I was probably in my late 40s at that time, and looking around thinking, is there anyone under 60 working in this place? It was up in the old building on the mezzanine, where people would wait. And then years later, I'm there because of Edge as a faculty sponsor. And I'm saying, aren't there any people here over 50? There was a huge change, and they knew that there was going to be a mass retirement. So they needed the youth, but if they brought you in and then held you outside of worthy and difficult challenges, I don't know that you would have stayed.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I think that's a strategic move on their part because they know there's a lot of retirements coming up. So if you're going to bring the younger generation up, and if you're going to bring them up to speed, you got to give them the opportunities to learn from all these people that are leaving. Share the knowledge and make sure that the knowledge stays within the company.
I can picture you with your other enthusiasm, which is soccer.
Oh, yeah.
Unless you're tired of soccer now and have no more interest.
No, I'm still playing. We actually have a game this Thursday. So we have two teams with Travelers that we play indoors and then in the summer outdoors as well.
Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah. Where do you play indoor soccer?
In Farmington Sports Arena. So we play there every Tuesday or Thursday.
Now, I thought of soccer and you because I see that while you are a strong individual finance consultant, a senior one for that matter, you have to be working with others to get those stories told. A lot of moving of the ball up and down, and coordination and knowing when to pass something on and when you're holding it too long. So do you see the connection between your finance work and your soccer life?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, everything that you do nowadays, it has to be a teamwork. It has to be a team effort, really. You have your individual work that you do on your own, but for the most part, you're contributing to a bigger team. You're a part of a team that you're working towards something together. So for sure, every time I went through an interview, I definitely use that example as, I'm a team player. I was a, soccer captain for so long, and all that good stuff that you get from sports for sure.
Yeah. And tell me a little bit about your team that you're working with. What sorts of folks are they, and what are some of their roles that complement yours?
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, like I mentioned, during the annual plan, we have to make sure that not just as a personal insurance technology, we're working towards the same goal. However, there's certain projects that are enterprise-wise, as we call them. So, as you know, Travelers has 3 segments: PI, personal insurance, business insurance, and bond. So we work with the other finance leads as well to make sure that their roadmaps align with our roadmaps, and we're having the right numbers in there, the right assumptions for the year coming up. That's just one quick example. But on a monthly basis, we touch base and make sure that our stories are consistent. So when we go to the leadership team, we have consistent stories across the place.
You get to go up to or down in New York or up to the senior people at here in Hartford and tell that story, or is you plus others, I'm sure, but have you had those experiences where you're telling them the hard truth of expense?
Oh yeah, for sure. But I don't get to travel much because most of my audience is in Hartford. So, because I'm the finance lead of technology, my customer, I guess the biggest one would be the CIO of personal insurance. So this is who I present those numbers to. He would be responsible for that area. So ultimately, it's his decision on obviously everything expense related for technology. But not much travel in New York, no.
Yeah, don't get down to the city there. I think we had one of our annual symposiums down at the headquarters in New York City. That was quite an experience. And at that time, Jay Fishman was alive and well, and he hosted us. I remember him coming in. A lot of the interns were there. I don't know if she's your group.
No, yeah, wow. It was probably before me. Yeah,
yeah, but it was a wonderful experience because he poured his heart out when he spoke. He said, "This is my story. My grandmother came over. We took in laundry. We did whatever we needed to here in this city, to get to a point where I could go to school." And that was what motivated me to want to help you folks get the leg up. But then I can remember him. He looked out over there and he said, "However, you work, and you work. Nothing is given to you."
Yeah.
Yeah. And Kessie Brathwaite, who was a freshman at that time, was placed at his table next to him, but she did not know who he was because he came in late. And here's Kessie, one of our very fresh and edge scholars, right out into Britain High School. And she's sitting, and Kate Wall and I are sitting at our table with Chris Galligan. We're saying, does Kessie really know who that is? And Kate's going, "I don't know. Could I slip her a note?" I said, no, she's going to handle it. And sure enough, they started chatting, how you do table talk and everything back and forth. And then Marlene Isbin gets up to introduce the CEO, and I was watching Kessie, and she was giving this, great credential, made this company what it is. And then he put his napkin down and he stood up, and I watched Kessie go, "Oh my God."
Oh God. Yeah.
But that's the spirit of your company. It really is. And it's continued, I'm sure. They're real human beings, and they're doing a very important service when you say they're insuring my home and my automobiles. So I get it. I understand the commitment they're making, but you got to have a feeling that there's some real human beings there. When you are interacting as a technology finance guy, do you work directly with the men and women who are making those computer purchases and maintenance expenses? Do you interact with them directly?
Not to that lower level, mainly to a high level expense or what it would be. So each within the technology, we have different value streams, as we call them. And they have a leader. So I work with the leader of the value stream to get those numbers that are needed. But unless it's something specific where I need that information, I will go to the lowest level. But for the most part, I would work with the value stream leads.
I was thinking that one of our Edge colleagues and who is very active there is Rupesh Paruli. And now he is is he at the value stream lead yet with the cyber security?
I'm not sure if I'm not sure of his title, but I do work with him. I do see him because he represents personal insurance as well. So when I go to those meetings, monthly meetings to present to the CIO, he actually has a presentation on cybersecurity. So it's very funny not funny, but it tells you that the Edge program doesn't end just in college. Even when you're at Travelers, now I have different connects within the company that I have to connect with monthly. And I have my Edge scholars in each area that I go to.
We're infiltrating. We're taking over.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's our little secret.
Yeah. So I have that connection. It helps a lot actually knowing that, they went through the Edge program. So we still connected. We just had actually lunch the other day. We created for the Edge alumni, we had
great
lunch. Yeah. So a couple of us showed up and it was nice catching up.
Now, what about Bob Hawkinson? He is in the technology arena too, but I think he is at the experimental side where they're trying new stuff. So I don't know if you would know him, but yeah, he is a Central grad and was not in Edge, but he got into that area, and there are a number of other cool people who I'm so excited about. I want to know more about your future, though, as we're moving down on our timeline here for the podcast. You are already a senior. Now, they can't make you a senior.
Yeah,
what might be ahead for you to continue this wonderful track you're on?
Yeah, I mean, my next goal is to hit the manager role and working towards that now. But that's the next step. To get to that level. So working through that.
Up some additional credentials for that, working on an MBA or certifications or?
It's not necessary, but I was thinking about it. I was thinking about going back to Central for my MBA. That's one of the things that I've been talking about. And I think it would be a great opportunity. I don't think it would help much in terms of getting to that next level at work, but obviously it's going to give me a lot of knowledge that's going to help me personally. So it's definitely an option for sure.
What does help most, do you think, to get you from where you are to a management responsibility?
I mean, just getting exposed to certain projects and certain skill sets that I'm already talking to my managers about, and I'm already on track for it. So I think it's just working on that.
Showing that things that you're responsible for get done and done well.
That's always at any level.
Yeah,
for sure. Truly. Yeah.
I think some people on the street think that you get into a managerial role because you know how to dress or because you do have, those letters behind your name and all kinds of other sort of superficial indicators that you're a managerial leader. But my ethic is that show me what you can get done with others, not just yourself. And will they say about you, if it wasn't for Enzo, we wouldn't have made it on time. We wouldn't have been able to tell a story that we all believed in.
Yep.
I think that's going to happen, man.
I'm sure it will.
Folks may not know, why would they, that when I first met you at High School Inc., which you mentioned earlier, you weren't too long from living in Albania.
Yeah, I didn't speak English well when I met you. I had just moved here. So my parents moved when I was 15. They moved to the United States, and none of us knew it. Yeah.
What, you were 17 or 16 when I first met you?
Yeah, 16, probably around 16, 17. Yeah. So I hadn't been here that long,
No.
but I was very motivated and I was very driven to go to college, and because that's the only reason why my parents moved here, right? They wanted us to have a better life. They wanted us to get an education. So all their sacrifice, I didn't want that to go to waste. So that was my biggest motivation there.
I remember you telling me that. I was very impressed. Yeah, and I knew you meant it. Yeah, it was a long way to come in from a part of the world where you were playing soccer back in Albania, weren't you? So
Oh yeah.
They took it even more seriously than we did here in the States. They didn't know it was football. We didn't know it was football, what you were playing. But that was a good moment. I remember very well. I was talking to Kate Wall the other day. We met when I came over to talk about my book at the bookstore for the Central Authors. And then Kate was there in the audience, and we spoke for a few minutes. And I said, I'm going to speak with Enzo. We're going to do a podcast. She said, oh, be sure to say hello. Hello. And then I said, do you remember when we met him? And she said, absolutely. Now, who was the person with you? Was there someone else also from Albania? Or were you the only one?
I was the only one at the school, yeah.
But at our table, and you were sitting there, and there was Yukon at the next table. And I'm feeling very competitive. Get over here to our table. Don't even bother with them. Because you could have been lured to Yukon.
Is that why I got a phone call right after from Central?
I think we speed dialed you. We had you right on the speed dial, man, and we were not going to let that happen, because I could see you wanting to go to UConn in a way, because for one thing, it probably had a big soccer team. We had one too at Central.
Yeah, I was interested in playing soccer, and then when I learned that I got into the Edge program, I just gave that away. I said, I'm just going to focus on school. I'm going to do it. Yeah. Yeah. So I just did it. I decided to do that. But yeah, I actually was interested in going at UConn and Central. And then after that, I think it was at, not PDI, it was at Insurance Day, I think, that we met.
That's right.
And after that happened, the next day I got a call from Central, and I just applied only at Central. I didn't apply to any other school.
Well, folks, you've heard it. You've heard it from Enzo Darci, who is a terrific fellow and who's going to have a limitless future at Travelers or anywhere else that you care to be, because you've got all the right ingredients for what Peter Vela and I had in mind and heart, really, when we wrote the book on practice. We believe that someone who cares about results deeply, particularly their own, but also those with whom they are engaged for employment, are going to put everything they have into the learning that goes along with that. Every day, learning. Let's cap this conversation off with, what do you think you might learn today?
It's still morning, so you never know. I'm already learning so much. I mean, I've already learned so much from you, and throughout the 4 years at Central. I mean, it's always important to learn new things. Obviously, you know that more than anybody else.
I do.
So I'm always open to learning, and that's one of the reasons why I want to go back to school and finish my MBA. And obviously, Central is my top choice there as well. So,
well, I love that answer. It's only morning. That is the right answer for a serious practitioner. Thank you very much, Enzo Darci.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for listening to the Practice Podcast, where we discuss practice with a capital P. If you'd like to hear more, listen in on Spotify, Automatic, and Apple Podcasts, or go to inactionresearch.com/podcast-page. And if you'd like to learn more about social inaction and the nature of practice, head over to inactionresearch.com for more information. Thank you for supporting this show. We look forward to hearing from you soon. Oh, how could I have forgotten? Our digital book on Practice as a Way of Being is now available. You'll find it online at www.mylibrary.world. I worked on that book after Peter passed away, and I think you will find it a unique and very, very mobile reading experience, since it's wherever your screen is in hand or at hand.